Good evening, everybody. I was just looking on Twitter, the words Jason Alexander were trending, and my quivering hand hovered over the words Jason Alexander. I was like, no, not my boy, Jason Alexander, the guy who plays George Costanza. No, it turns out it is a unrelated Jason Alexander who is, I saw this thing that said, like, Britney Spears' first husband, Jason Alexander, and I was like, Jason Alexander was married to Britney Spears? No, it's a different guy. Some random douchebag that none of us give a shit about, because it's not George from Seinfeld. This is fucking bullshit. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. I'm going to review SpongeBob SquarePants, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge today. I hope you fuckers are ready for it. Hopefully we all know the drill by now. I've been doing these kind of rapid fire recently, been trying to crank them out. We're trying to get from here to here today. That's the goal. I think we should be able to do it. Some of these games are going to be pretty concise to talk about. There's only a few like really meaty ones here. I feel like I had something else to say, but I've completely forgotten it. Oh. This is the kind of stream that I think would be ideal to put on in the background, so I'm going to be listening to music on my own, but you guys aren't going to be able to hear it. You can just listen to whatever you want to, or you play a video game or whatever. I imagine many of you are gaming. Hey, chat, can I get a little bit of a holler from anybody who's gaming tonight? Anyone gaming? Now I'm going to clear my throat. Can I get a holler from anybody who might or might not be gaming? There you go. And that's just a little taste of how many gamers are in the chat. I'm gonna play Clubhouse games. I don't really know what that means. That's a lot of hollers. That is a lot of hollers. Yeah, Undertale and Skullgirls are like two of the meatiest ones. Someone said those are the only ones they recognize. What about the Way of Life Free Edition? That game's so great. You should have heard of that. Narbacular Drop is the game that Portal was based on, or the original. It's kind of a long story. We'll get to it. But yeah, I would not blame you for not knowing most of these. These are some hipster-ass, dumbass whack game bullshit. Some of these are good. They're not like bad. Okay, let's get to it. Let me just pop on some tunes for myself. You guys can't hear this, right? Yeah. I have finally bookmarked my jams playlist, so I can just access it at any time, which is pretty nice. I went for so long just like searching up Grapefruit's jams every single time I wanted to access it, and then I was like, I'm accessing it so much, I just need a shortcut. Okay. So, SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Some of you may remember this as the game that I played while watching the entirety of the SpongeBob movie in like a little tiny WebM that was really compressed. It was like the fucking it was that meme, the fucking like Barnacle Boy, the blank, and it was the entire SpongeBob SquarePants movie. That was what made this notable. The game itself is not fantastic. I liked it as a kid. So as a kid, I had the reason I even played these on stream at all is because as a kid, I had a GBA cartridge that was like a double pack of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman and Super Sponge. And I remember liking Revenge of the Flying Dutchman a lot more and playing it a lot more because it was easier and a little more accessible. Super Sponge was a little more arcadey, and it had like this, I think it had a password system for saving that I just didn't understand. So I just didn't have saving in that game because I didn't understand the concept of it gives you a password for the level and then you have to like write it down and enter in that password to get back to that level. I think it had a password system. Both of these games are... You want to see the movie again? Oh no. Let's not do that again. We've already got Cranky keeping us company. Both of these games, I believe, had PlayStation versions or like PlayStation 2 or something. And yes, Super Sponge, I actually have a little image for you guys. And this is, I'm not gonna lie, this is skirting around the edges of TOS, but nothing actually bad is shown. There's no like nudity. It's all implied, technically. But Super Sponge is the game that has these images in the files on like the PlayStation version, which is a fun fact. Pretty intense. People notified me of that when I played that game. They were like, by the way, there's SpongeBob porn in the game, which is kind of fucked. Of course, that doesn't really factor into my ranking. What could the devs have meant by that? Yeah, that bottom one is some like epic Mickey shit. So yeah, that's a little fun fact. That's what Super Sponge is like most known for. I actually don't know if those images are in. They look too high resolution to be in the GBA version, so it must be in the. It must be in the PlayStation version. But both of these are kind of shitty 2D platformers. You play as SpongeBob. I remember both of them kind of have... They tried to do like, speaking of Donkey Kong Country, they tried to do those sort of like compressed... They like, take a video of 3D models and compress it down to a 2D sprite. And some of them just looked like dog shit. Like I remember you fight the Flying Dutchman in Super Sponge and... the sprite just looks absolutely terrible. It would have been way better if they had just made a sprite of it, but it looks like absolute shit. Super Sponge is actually kind of an entertaining B game compared to Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Like Revenge of the Flying Dutchman has like more accessible save system and also is a little easier and is a little more of just like a meandering collectathon, whereas Super Sponge is like a gauntlet of like platforming challenges and bosses. And it's not good, but I'll tell you one thing. SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge has an amazing soundtrack, and that's not even a joke. It's legitimately good. Like there are some bops on there. I forget, did we look at like the guy who had made the soundtrack had like done other things? It wasn't the Dave Blob guy, was it? No. That was a different guy. but genuinely great soundtrack. And I don't know, it's it's not the best platformer, but it's like inoffensive. I remember Revenge of the Flying Dutchman even had it had some jank. Like the platforming was not great, and there were some instances where I was unsure if there were emulator issues or if it was just issues with the game. There was one thing somebody said, the invisible jellyfish. That was from I think that was an emulator issue. But yeah, Toby Fox made that soundtrack. Fun fact. Yeah, great. Uh it's kind of funny that we're talking about Undertale today because I just played that. I just watched Lark play that game earlier today. But Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, I don't know if I would recommend either of these, but if you're into B games, Super Sponge does have some funny shit. It's got like a really weird final boss that's like, you're in like the canning factory and there's this weird like robot meat dog that's kind of uncanny and creepy. There's some parts of the game that feel like a creepy pasta, and those things are why I would rate it higher than the other one. Even though I liked this one, I liked Revenge of the Flying Dutchman more when I was younger. But it's like I would say, oh, it's more accessible for kids, but like, don't give your kid Revenge of the Flying fucking Dutchman. Like so the target audience, the amount of people that I would recommend it to in that case is zero. But I don't know, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, it had like a half decent, like fun-ish minigame. Everything just felt kind of like slow and sluggish in that game too. It's got, I don't know, it's not a terribly inventive game. The music is not terrible, but it's just it gets kind of grating and annoying over time. As opposed to Super Sponge, which again, unironically has bops. And keep in mind that both of them are in like GBA compression mode. No, the Toby Fox thing was a joke, by the way. The Toby Fox thing was a joke. Toby Fox did make the music for Luigi floating on an egg over the ocean. That is not a joke. The SpongeBob SquarePants Toby Fox thing is a joke. So Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, I don't know, it's like a 3.5, maybe like a 4. It wasn't terrible. No. Looking at the color of that 4, I was like, no, let's make it a darker reddish orange. And then Super Sponge actually was like, I don't know, like a 4. They're pretty similar games. I remember getting them mixed up in my mind, even though they're based on completely different games. It's kind of weird. I think the console version of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman is like a 3D platformer. It's like a totally different thing. And then Super Sponge is just a higher res 2D platformer on the PlayStation, I think. God, you know what? Let's give Super Sponge a 4.5 just because of that soundtrack, actually. And I'm like super on the fence about recommending it again. This is kind of like Sexy Hiking. If you're into like just trash, but like kind of funny, weird, jank games, this one's not terrible. Like, of all the weird, like, there's so many shitty like trash games where I just wouldn't even recommend people trying to play them. Like I don't know, like fucking Night of 100 Frights or Blues Brothers 2000. But Super Sponge might be fine, and it also has that extra spice of, let's just remind ourselves, oh, okay, wow. Anywho. So that's the SpongeBob games out of the way. You may have noticed there are some gaps up there too. In fact, should we just go do those now? Title of the stream is talking about the fucking SpongeBob games, but we should just maybe go do these now. I have Mario and Luigi, Partners in Time. I just played this, just finished it the other day. What did I give Superstar Saga? 8.5? That checks out. Because I was thinking right after I was finished with this one, it was basically exactly as good as Superstar Saga. I hate to be boring, but it was like there were a few steps forward, a few small steps forward, a few small steps back. I, for one, personally don't give a hoot about the loss of bros moves. Like, I think the items are just fine. and I kind of appreciate. I kind of like them actually. I'm gonna sound like a contrarian here, but oh sorry, a song with lyrics just came on, and I cannot talk if there's lyrics. There's like a rap, and it's gonna just totally fuck me up. I've already completely forgotten what I was talking about. Give me 1 second. I need video game soundtrack music. Give me like. Okay, here. This is good. Okay. Excuse me. Like, there's a lot of interesting, fun stuff. Of course, it's the first game in the series on the DS, so they did a lot of fun stuff with the dual screens in battles and such. I did play the version of the game that is like the scuffed version, the North American release, which was the first release of the game, where there's like the extra health. There's a bunch of extra health on the later bosses in the game. There's a bunch of different like balance changes, but most notably, the final bosses just have like way more health in the North American version. Which honestly, I used. I don't know. I saved up for a badge that was kind of broken. It wasn't that broken, but it was kind of broken. So I wasn't really feeling that extra health on those bosses. I think they all went down in one try. So it wasn't that insane of a difficulty spike. But I'm saying that as a guy who, again, I like ground for the OP badge. And when I played this game as a kid, I remember those bosses being quite difficult. Particularly the Shrouser encounter, the one where you don't get to attack. That was the one that I really remember being stuck on. Maybe that was just because I was a kid, but hey, these games are kind of for kids. You know, this game does have babies in it. But I think this game is adequately challenging. I think it's adequately challenging for an adult. Even though, I mean, those final bosses went down pretty easy, but as chat is pointing out, I did die, not only to the Elder Shrewboid, but several times. It's a fun game, and I think it would be less compelling if it was not challenging. Like, Superstar Saga was also, I mean, Superstar Saga's final boss has some fucking bullshit, and again, I used kind of stat upgrades and busted badges to, like, get around that in my playthrough, but they can be a real wall on your first playthrough, and especially when you're a kid and maybe you don't know that much about like optimizing your stats in video games. I know I did that with Superstar Saga the first time I played it. Didn't like even out my stats, just kept upgrading HP. Some people were commenting on the VODs of Partners in Time and saying they did the same thing in these games. So, I don't know. It's a good game, though. It suffers from the tutorial issue that all the other games in the series suffer from. I don't know if it's any better or worse. It just gets in the way, and there just straight up should be a way to skip those things. I don't know. The babies do add interesting battle mechanics. I think that's a cool idea. Each of like the main three, because like the first one they were introducing just the basic like this is the new Mario and Luigi RPG format. Then they introduced the babies. That was an interesting sort of expansion on the combat. Then the whole Bowser thing in Bowser's Inside Story was another cool evolution of that. I don't know how the other games have handled it, but I like that they kept kind of evolving it in sort of fun ways to mix it up, and it was neat. I don't know. Like Bros attacks kind of still live on in the items too, you know, with the advanced ways that you can do the attacks that involve the babies that you can only do when the babies are like in your party. I like the parts where they split up the adults and the babies and like throw some weaker enemies at the babies because they're kind of less damageful and have less HP and shit. And it's the game just like Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. It has good writing. It has good writing, and it actually makes me laugh. It's funny. You know? So, I don't know. I would... Again, some aspects of it are a little bit better. Some aspects of it are a little bit worse, but it's not really that different. In my opinion, it's mostly the same. I'm going to just go ahead and give it another 8.5 after all that. Is it really going to do that bullshit? Okay, here's a cheeky little move. Boop. By the way, there is a singular animal watching right now. It is one anonymous goose. Actually, I lie. An anonymous leopard just joined, too. There was just a picture of a singular goose in the corner. It's kind of a shame they never remade this one, but only on the principle of the thing. It doesn't need a remake. It's fine. It's aged really well. It has exactly one touchscreen gimmick, so if you're someone commented, they were like, yeah, if your touchscreen doesn't work, there's just a point in this game that is arbitrarily uncompletable. But, to be fair, you should expect that with most DS games, you know, if you have a barely functional DS. Someone was like, did the audio cut out? No, I said Bowser's in time and was so embarrassed that my brain shut down for a solid 10 to 15 seconds. That's what that was. I said Bowser's in time. Okay. Danmaku Unlimited 3. I played this just the other day as well. I mean, you can tell these are recent games because they're up in the list, because the only reason I'm doing these games now is because they're like part of a series that I already started reviewing earlier, and I like sort these by series. You could make the argument that I have organized these in the most fucking catastrophically chaotic, terrible way humanly possible. Like, you could argue that I have done this in the worst conceivable way. Anyway, you had to reset your brain. Bowser's in time. It's because Bowser's inside story, in time, inside, in time, inside. It fucked me up. Danmaku Unlimited 3, 2 and 3 of this series, I've never played the first, are some of the most fun, exhilarating, polished bullet hells I've ever played. And you know what? At this point, I've actually played a lot of bullet hells, believe it or not. Sounds weird to say. I would definitely recommend both of these. I've been sort of replaying 2 as well recently, and I kind of want to bump it up to an 8.5. Maybe, no, let's leave it there. These are just really, they're kind of generic. They're just, ships in space with what chat has described to me as gamer metal plays in the background. Really cool music, though. I really get a kick out of it, even though it's not the sort of thing I typically listen to. These games are just really satisfying, good-looking bullet hell shooters with really fun patterns. I really have little to no complaints. The way that they're formatted, too, they're very beginner-friendly. Both of them allow you to change the amount of lives and continues that you have. So if you're struggling at the game, you can just crank up the amount of lives and sort of tank your way through some of the harder parts of the game. Or they also have different difficulty modes, each game has 2 different ways to play too, one that's sort of for beginners and one that's for experts. So I think if you're super into crazy bullet hells and want to be a score fiend on the hardest difficulty in 1cc the whole thing, these games could be awesome for that. Or if you just want to casually get into this genre, which I think is a really underappreciated genre in the West. You really don't hear about these too much. I mean, speaking of fucking Undertale, but they're incredibly fun, and I really like the color palette of these games. Lots of purple, lots of cool colors, purples and blues, It's really relaxing on the eyes, even though I'm sure these games probably give some people seizures. Don't play these games if you have epilepsy, I guess, although I know 3 has a photosensitivity mode. I don't know about 2. But they're genuinely really, really fun. And I would encourage anyone to try them. I always try to shill these games just because I feel like they're underappreciated. I'd give this one an 8.5. 3 is a little harder than 2, in my opinion. It's really hard to judge that objectively, but I just feel like I struggled a little bit more with 3. But both of them are manageable, and like I said, have accessibility up the ass. Sus? Really good games. Okay, now back to where we were. Back past the I love scrolling past this fucking chasm of red where the NES games are. Sorry, that was an obnoxious way to speak. It really does make me giggle, though. Okay. So, no wheels racing. Okay, this game is like a fucking joke. An absolute joke. It's just a gag game. It's a racing game that like pretends to have like an options like, oh, select your car. But I think you can only select one car. The other ones are like coming later in DLC. And then you spawn in and it like pretends to connect to an online server, but then it just puts you in this room where there's just a bunch of cars with no wheels sitting on the ground, like revving their engines and honking. And it's funny for like 2 seconds. Decent joke. Someone said it's a decent joke. That is true. It was funny, but I mean, it's almost completely not worth playing. In describing the joke to you, I have delivered you the entire experience of playing this game. I don't know. It's like some of these games, it's like fucking Luigi flying on an egg over the ocean. Except that one has a soundtrack by Toby Fox, okay? So I don't know. The joke is funny enough for me to give this a 2 out of 10. How about that? Like, it gave me precisely one chuckle. And that's all the enjoyment that I got out of it. As compared to Danmaku Unlimited 3's 8.5, which represents like 60 gallons of serotonin delivered directly to my brain. This 2 is one chuckle. Recommend no. Unless you're really competitive. I don't know what that wasn't a joke. Okay, flippin' phones. This one was also bad. It was like a pixel art game where you like run around. It's another joke game where it's vaguely funny for like 2 seconds. It's like a dude just in a mall flapping his arms around, like running like crazy and screaming. And you go up to people holding cell phones and just like slap the phones out of their hands. And you're just destroying people's smartphones, basically. But gameplay wise, it's just like you play it for like 5 seconds and then you're done. It's not actually really that enjoyable to play. It's mildly funny. It could have been, they could have done more with it. They could have actually made a decent, like half decent fun game. It wouldn't have to be a long game. Wouldn't have to be like a high development cost or anything. I know it's a free indie game, but they did almost nothing with the concept beyond just making a character that runs around flipping phones out of people's hands. I don't know, 2 out of 10. I'm going to give it the exact same score. No. We're being brutal to the whack games. I love doing the whack games streams, but like 90% of those games are kind of objectively trash. I hate to say it. That being said, I shouldn't say that. We're about to get some good ones. Islands was really good, actually. This was it's a lot like Windowsill, I think. That's like the best comparison. It's like Windowsill, but even more sort of slow and lethargic and removed. Kind of makes you disassociate a little bit. It's a bunch of what we would now describe as liminal spaces, I guess. Sort of like these hazy, weird tableaus, and you solve very mild puzzles in them. It's actually really cool, though. It's actually, like, I really got a kick out of it. It's got cool, like, ambient sound. It's just got a really nice vibe. Short game. Not the most substantial experience, but it was actually, I really enjoyed this one. It was a standout. I don't know if it might be free or it might be very cheap if you have to pay for it. I don't know. If this game was, like, $10, I'd be like, that's a bit pricey, but I would do it. I don't know. If this game's like $5, then like totally, Why am I talking about the price? Who gives a shit? It's like a 7.5. I don't know. I don't know. Fuck you. It's a 7.5. Focus. It's $5 on Steam. Fucking parfait. Perfect. Excellent. Then I give my full endorsement of this game. That is the perfect price. Focus. This one was Markiplier did a video on this, right? I think he did. Because I remember I like Googled. I think I at one point I like couldn't figure out what to do, and I like Googled the game on YouTube, and I was like, oh my god, fucking Markiplier played this. Uh, but this is a cool little cute concept for an indie game. It's like you get a camera, you're in this room, it's a single room, and the camera can zoom in insanely far and insanely like detailed on things. And there's like 8 or 9 tiny, tiny, tiny people in the room that you need to find one by one. And I think they kind of get sequentially smaller and smaller, so it's like harder to find them, but you get a clue each time you talk to one to like find the next one. And it's less of a puzzle game where you're like trying to find these things and more of a it's more of like an artsy type experience. It feels like, I don't know, they're like ruminating on human relationships and emotions and like trying to fuck around with like the perspective that we have on our relationships with other people. It's pretty cool. It's not, maybe I'm making it sound deeper than it actually is. At its heart, it's just kind of a quirky, cute idea for a game. It's short and sweet. It's nothing too fucking profound. I remember some of it. There's one part where you have to like follow this little trail of notes that somebody's left that's like got really annoying dialogue on it, and it just kept going, and you have to like zoom in individually to each paper, and I was like, can this end, please? But it was a neat game. I quite like it, and it's free, I believe. So yeah. It's like, I talked about this before. At some point, I've got to make a video, maybe a main channel video, like a scripted one, where I talk about like arcade games and whack games and shit that are worth playing, you know, because I've like sifted through so many of them, and I've played so many bad games, and then every once in a while we find kind of like a diamond in the rough, you know, or like this is actually a really solid game. So it's like, what if you could make like a gift basket, like a collection of all the like best whack games, you know? Islands would definitely be on that list. Focus probably as well. I don't know, this one's like a 7 to me. 7. Sounds about right. Mountain, I don't really care for as much. This is a very slow, very lethargic game. I think you could maybe call this I keep trying to like give every game like an accolade of like, wow, this is like the best mobile game, this is the best arcade game, blah blah blah. This is the slowest game I've ever played in my entire life. It's just it's like a mountain floating in space, and it's like genuinely like once or twice an hour an object will like slowly fall onto the mountain, and you can like arrange the objects. There's for some reason a little piano that you can play. There's just like a musical instrument in the software. It's supposed to be something like a widget, you know, that you put on your desktop and you just have in the background, and you come back to it every once in a while. And I tried doing that this stream. It was like I did a whack game stream. In between every game, I would go, okay, I'm going to go check on my mountain. It didn't really end up being that entertaining, though, because the rate at which shit appears on the mountain is so slow, you know? So, and I've tried, this is not my only experience with the game. I've tried, you know, playing it, open quotes, off stream, too, and it truly is, like, even if you leave it running for, like, a day, you get, like, almost nothing, and I know maybe I'm just not zen enough, but I really found it difficult to appreciate. I think it's also a game that they asked money for, which is kind of ridiculous. It's like $2 or something. Hold on. Let me search it on Steam. Mountain. What do you mean it's not the first result? What do you mean there's a bunch of other games that are about mountains? It's 99 cents, which honestly is, in my opinion, a bit much. But that's just because I didn't like personally vibe with it. I think it like occasionally sort of just ejects platitudes at you too. Let me just read a review. Most helpful reviews in the past 90 days. Recommended 10 hours on record. Before I played Mountain, I had a small PP, no friends, no girlfriend, depression, and absolutely no life. These things haven't changed, but the game is pretty good. I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it that much. Maybe if you're really into that Zen shit, it's like a virtual Zen garden. See, the screenshots for the game show a mountain that is covered in stuff, and like you must have to leave it there for like a fucking week to do that. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just very impatient, but yeah. I'm like too ADHD for this thing that's supposed to be for people to like cope with their like ADHD and like have a game to go back to every once in a while. It's like if I want a game to go back to every once in a while, I'll just like load up Doom 2 Hell on Earth. You know? Okay, give me a moment. So Mountain, I don't know, it's cute. Wouldn't personally recommend. It's not like, you know, it's not terrible. Like, I don't know, like 3.5, 4. Let's give it a 4. It's cute. I like the idea. Like, the concept is neat. And I like the little musical instrument it gives you. And I kind of like it, you know, it's a pretty mountain. It's a pretty mountain floating in space. I want to come across like I just totally hated it. You know what? Now, 3.5. 3.5. Okay. Plug and play. This one's fucking awesome. This would totally go in the Whack Games Hall of Fames. This one and Kids are both really, really good. You know, they're made by the same person, I think, or same people. Do you have to keep the game open? For Mountain? I think you do. I'm not sure, though. I've not fucked around with it that much. How many hours do I have in this game? Let's see, like, how far my patience stretched. Watch it be, like, not even 1 hour. 14.8 hours. I think that's a decent sample size. It's not a ton. It's more hours than the guy with the small PP. Anyway. I don't know. Neat idea. It's kind of Katamari-esque. Plug and play. Very cool game. This is a short experience. It would be perfect for a double feature with Kids, which I feel like is almost a spiritual successor or sequel to this game. Almost, I mean, it's definitely a spiritual successor. This game's kind of got that Vector Park energy where it's very tactile. You know, you're picking up things. They have like physics of their own. Plug and Play in particular is a very sexual game, which is rare for this list, I feel like. It is very sus. It doesn't have any explicit sexual stuff, but it has many, many, many sexual innuendos in it. It's not like crass. It's just very surreal and sort of otherworldly. It's just a little world of like plug people going around sticking their plugs in each other. and like fingers. There's lots of fingers and fingering. But it's got a very clean art style. Everything's animated really well, or at least well enough to look good. I mean, that was a dumb sentence, but you know what I mean. It's not like the absolute pinnacle of animation, but it looks really nice considering it's just a random indie game that's like 10 minutes long. And I feel like it's just sort of a mood piece. I don't know if it actually really distinctly says anything specific about human relationships or sexuality. It's just kind of there, but it's cool. It's really, really cool. Someone nutted to that game. Someone nutted to what Linus Bruckman sees when his eyes are closed, okay? Someone nutted to all of these. But yes, would recommend. And honestly, just remember, just really, really ingrain that last review you just heard into your brain for when I review Kids, because it's exactly the same, basically. Except it's less sus, it's less sexual. I don't know, this is like an 8. This is like an 8. It's a solid game. Solid fucking game. Gauge. This game is an assault on the senses. It's kind of neat for like a few minutes, but I don't, really enjoy playing it for a long period of time. Kind of hard to describe it. I mean, the game just looks like visual diarrhea. It's just like flashing lights and colors and shit. And there's this gauge, and you have to hold down the space bar, I think the only control is the space bar. And there's a little bar that increases in the gauge as you hold down the space bar, and you have to keep the end of the bar in a specific part of the gauge without touching the end to like get a high score. And that's it. And it just like keeps throwing new shit at you, like weird new mechanics and shit, and trying to visually distract you. And I think the music is like super harsh, like kind of noise type music too. It's really aggressive. It's weird. It's very avant-garde, but it's not really something that I would necessarily want to play for any period of time. The superior version of this game is Super Hexagon. There's a game that is an assault on the senses and tries to fuck you up with like insane visuals, but that is actually palatable and has better music and, I don't know, maybe slightly more varied gameplay than just pressing the spacebar to like get a thing to a certain part of a gauge. It's cool though. It's not absolutely terrible, but like Super Hexagon just makes this game look like shit. Grapefruit reviewing kids. Just like walk up to somebody's child and I'm like 6.5 out of 10, motherfucker. Okay, so Gauge, I don't think I would recommend this. I don't know. Maybe if you're already in a coma and you need to come out of the coma, make them play this game. The jokes have not been good today. They've been really bad, honestly. Like, not even like funny bad. Fuck, there's like this really like busy music playing and it's making it hard to think. I don't want to listen to Charles Mingus moaning. That wasn't even what was playing. I was listening to Portroid, a Metroid Portal cross arrangement by Scruffy, who some of you may know. I'm sorry. I should just make a playlist of like just like really easy to listen to background music that's like soundtracks from video games. I've got this huge chunk of my playlist that's like rap and shit. Okay, we're going back to the Dust Force soundtrack. There we go. Moanin' is a phenomenal song. I wasn't even actually listening to it. Maybe it would be nice to talk along to. Okay, Gauge. What do I want to give this game? I don't know. It's not terrible. Like, it's kind of fun. It would be maybe a nice arcade game. Like, in an actual arcade. Again, because you would only want to play it for like 2 seconds. About as good as Mountain? Yeah. We're giving a lot of games like the same numbers today. We had 2 2s in a row and 3.5s like near each other. Okay, the plan, 0. That was an accident. That was on my numpad. That's so brutal. It was bad though. It's a bad game. This was a sort of artsy, pretentious game. It's like a walking simulator, except this could have been flying simulator. It's like you play as a fly and you're in the forest and you fly directly upwards. And then there's a big, I'm going to spoil the game for you. Spoiler alert. There's a big light bulb at the top and you fly into the light bulb and it's like zit and then it like cuts to black. The game visually looks half decent. I think the fly is like 3D, which looks kind of awkward and weird. But the game is just so boring. It's just like they had one half decent idea and then we're just like, I don't know, we got to make this. Don't add anything to it. I think there's like a gust of wind that you need to like navigate around and you get stuck in a spider web very briefly. I think there are like, and it's like not even a real challenge. It's just like, just hold the direction, just go around it or just like tug out of the fucking web. It's just, I don't know. Could have been a lot more significant and could have still had that like sort of dumb artsy whammy ending and could have actually built that up better and made it a significant experience. But I remember it just fell flat. And this was the second, playing it on stream was the second time I had played it. I remember the first time I played it too. Even back when I was even more accepting of like artsy bullshit, I was just like, yeah, that was just kind of lame. So I don't know. Give it like a 2, another 2. Oh no, spoilers. It's a free game, to be fair. Scruffy is an artist of all spices. Sorry, I implanted the word is into that sentence. Another one Markiplier played. What, The Plan? That checks out. You know, I never watched much Markiplier. I watched him play FNAF and that's it. But I really appreciate that guy for giving exposure, attempting at least to give exposure to indie games. It really genuinely seems like more than other creators of his sort of type, he actually gives a shit about promoting neat indie games. And, you know, I'm not saying The Plan is great, but I appreciate that of him. It's cool. Even though, I don't know, maybe he's just like, maybe this one will be the next Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, I shouldn't assume that he has, like, pure intentions, but he seems like a chill guy, so that's kind of how I assume it is. Okay, Photonica. This game was kind of anemic. It was like an arcadey style game where you're like running in first person. I think it wasn't like randomly generated or anything. It was like actual levels. But it could have been procedurally generated for all I'd fucking knew, except every level was the same time I ran it. That's the only evidence. But the game just looks the same most of the time. It's like a first person running game. It's got a very sort of surreal art style, but I wish they had done more with it and done more like sort of exciting, interesting visuals. It's basically just two arms waving and like a line stretching into the horizon that you're jumping on. And I think the first person doesn't really make for good in this particular format where it's like it's basically an infinite runner where you're always running and you need to jump at good times. But it doesn't really work for this type of game, I don't think, terribly well. And I think this game has like kind of neat music, but I don't remember it being anything that particularly leapt out to me. It's just kind of meh. It's a half decent idea, but maybe not super well executed. And it might not even be really good at the conceptual level. Like, I don't know if you could ever make a game like this from this perspective, like without it being third person. I just think not every platformer has to be third person, but most of them should be third person. Because it just makes sense, because it's like you can see the environment better, you can like adjust the camera to like see things from a slightly different angle and get like depth perception. It just felt kind of like, I remember there was a certain level where I like couldn't get past it, and of course I play these games for like 15 minutes, so I probably could have pushed past it, but I was just kind of like, I don't feel like playing much more of this. So no, don't think I would recommend. I think it has like online leaderboards though, for what it's worth. If you see the thing, if you see it on, what am I trying to fucking say? If you see footage of the game and are like, yeah, that looks cool to me, then I guess check it out. Go be a score fiend. What should I give this one? There's lots of like, we're getting lots of like orange scores. I feel like this one's another 3.5. I know that's gonna sound like a cop-out. Sometimes it happens like that. I mean, sometimes, did you guys ever take a test where there were like 3 answers in a row, like a multiple choice test where there was like B, 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 and you're like, there's no way that's real, right? But we're getting lots of 3.5s here. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. I only tell the truth. Okay. The Way of Life Free Edition. I don't want to sound like too much of an asshole, but this has got to be one of the worst fucking games I've ever played in my entire life. There's a slight story behind this game. I remember playing a game years ago called The Way of Life, without the free edition on it. And it was like a half decent kind of neat idea, and it was like 3 levels. One where you're playing as, it's like you see the same environment, but from the perspective of 3 different people. One of them's a small child. You see the world like super whimsical and everything's like, oh, everything's a video game. Oh, it's so cool. And then there's like middle-aged, where everything's like kind of like, I don't even remember what exactly they did for middle-aged. I think it was just like normal. And then there was like old, where everything's kind of like dark and depressing and like kind of blurry, and like it was kind of neat. It was like low poly, kind of didn't look visually great, but I was like, okay, this is a cute idea. And when I started streaming, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do whack games. Can I go find that The Way of Life game that was kind of neat, and like whack? And I went and looked for it, and I could only find the Way of Life free edition, which I guess they took the concept for this game and went, okay, this is a brilliant idea. We're going to make this like huge expansion of this game concept that's going to like add tons and tons of like chapters and features. And then we're gonna like we're gonna let them play a free version and have to pay for the full version. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just like get the free version and like get the essential experience and then get out of there without having to do like all the extra shit. But no, it was like they remade the game but worse, and like the simple sort of interesting neat premise was just completely muddled, smeared across a wall, just completely like ruined basically. And the game just felt super like made by committee. Like a bunch of people sat in a room and were like, what are some neat ideas we could like have for this game? And then like nobody said no to any of the ideas, and they all kind of got like half baked into the game. And like it seems like nobody really had that much like coding experience, so everything just looks kind of bad. The polygons just look like shit. It was really bad in every respect, and it felt pretentious too. It was like the idea of the game was already kind of pretentious, and then they just like shit all over it. It was truly terrible. And there was like, I remember there was this big like hub rather, where there were a bunch of doors, and all the doors were like different like walks of life or something, and like 2/3 of them were blocked off with a lock that says this is only in the paid version. I was like, bruh, how did you take this like random artsy indie game and make it feel like Destiny 2 or something? I don't know. It was truly terrible. 1 out of 10. Would not recommend. This is like a Joshua tier game. And I'm not trying to shit on people named Joshua. There's a game called Joshua that was also a 1 out of 10. Anyway. Refunct. This one was actually pretty good. And I think this one, I keep talking about like cost for some of these shorter games. I think it matters more for a short game. Because some games I just feel like, why did you charge for this? $2.99 for Refunct. You know what? This game is good enough that I would still say that's a fair price. This game is a first-person platformer. I was just talking about that with Photonica. It can work. It's a very simple, short game. It's kind of geared around speedrunning, kind of like Sprout I was talking about earlier. Sprout has very few levels, but it's geared around, one cycling everything and like doing it all super fast. There's nothing super revolutionary about Refunct. It's just you go around and it's like there's like a bunch of blocks underwater, and only a few of them are protruding out of the water. You like hit a button on one of them, and it makes more blocks pop out. And then you go hit a button on that, and then it makes more blocks pop out, and you platform over those. And it's like a constructed challenge on each little set of blocks. And I think you have like a ledge climb type ability and a wall jump, and I think that's it. But it's a very fun game. It's just a simple, fun, sort of exhilarating, relaxing platformer. There's no consequence for failure. It's completely easy, just free roaming fun. I remember it's got cool music. It's got a cute little ending, and I kind of like the speedrunning angle to it. That's a good way to take a short game and sort of give it replay value. Because I think it times you. At the end, it gives you the amount of time that it took you to do it. And I think it's short enough that it actually could be a fun thing to just try to run through and speedrun. So I don't know. I've never done it myself, but it's a neat, fun, cute little game. It's nothing too crazy. It's got no story or anything. The graphics are fairly basic. I give it like a 6.5. It's a decent game. It's a decent game. Kind of on the fringe of recommending it, but yeah. Okay, 9.03M. This is a very somber game. This game is a sort of in memoriam, sort of elegy for the victims of the 2011 earthquake/tsunami that sort of destroyed part of Japan. It's a pretty interesting game from like from like a perspective outside, like greater than the game itself, it has. I think if I recall correctly, it was like $1 for a really long time, and all the proceeds of the game went to charity, like 100% of it. Let me look it up here. I think it's free now. It became free at a certain point. It's a very short game. The game itself is very blue. It takes place on a beach. Let's see, 9.03M is set on Baker Beach in San Francisco, where debris from the tsunami has washed ashore in the years following the tsunami. So basically, you walk around this beach as the tide sort of goes out, which to me is kind of representing like that feeling of, I don't know. This game kind of feels like an ocean horror game in a way, where it's like supposed to make you kind of fear and respect the ocean in a certain way, but it's also more about giving perspective to a huge tragedy too. Like, so many people lost their lives, and they're trying to it's all about going around the beach, like picking up all these individual objects that are like, you know, oh, this is like a music box that one person had, this is like a locket, this is a little, you know, this is like a shoe or whatever. I don't know if they have a shoe. That would be a pretty grim thing to... Shoes... If a shoe floats up on the beach, like opposite a tsunami, it usually has a foot in it. Fun fact. It's a grim fucking thing to say while I'm talking about this game. But the game is very heartfelt and sweet and respectful, of course, to the subject matter. It's almost... I don't know. The game itself, there's no, of course, like challenge to it or anything. You just pick up these items and rotate them, kind of like, what was that one game? There was that one like horror game on like PS4 where you like pick up items and rotate them. Plenty of games have this shit. You like find a little butterfly emblem, and then a little butterfly, kind of like a little spirit butterfly, like flies around. And you just do that a few times, and then the game ends. And I think it says, it gives like a little thing about, you know, this many people lost their lives. Some of their names are unrecorded by history or some shit like that. It's just trying to make you sort of feel reverence towards something that's very hard to wrap your mind around. Because when you hear these huge statistics about like deaths from a natural disaster or whatever, it just kind of like washes over you, and it's hard to really engage with something like that. But this is kind of an attempt to give people a sense of perspective on something like that, which is kind of neat. However. Now to the ranking. After all that, I don't know if I would recommend it, especially because there's no more proceeds to charity. Otherwise, I would say, hey, it's a good cause, might as well buy it. But I don't know what number I would give this. It's really hard to say. I mean, do I be an asshole and give it a really low number? Because I mean, it's as a game, there's not much to it. I do like it. You know, it has like a Dear Esther-ness to it, though, like where it still has value, even if it doesn't really engage with interactivity that much. Fucking engages with interactivity more than Dear Esther does. I don't know. I'll give it like a 4. Made me think. That's all you can ask for sometimes. You can put an asterisk by it if you need to. I thought about doing that, but then, you know, that would complicate this so much. Like, there would be so many asterisks. And I've already got, like, the various notes for, like, just shit. Just clarifying things, you know. Okay. Floating Point. This is a very good free game. I actually have a soft spot for this game. It is a 2D grappling hook game where you play as a singular pixel. This game visually looks like shit. It barely has even any aesthetic. It's got one really good song that I quite like that just plays over and over again. It's a long song, so it doesn't get super repetitive. And it's got like dynamic music too, which is nice. It kind of gets more intense the more like crazy like combo you're getting. But you just sort of swing around collecting these big red bars, and you leave a little trail in the air behind you. I don't know. Maybe this is just a random like shit game that I like enjoy for no reason. But I've found myself coming back to this game quite a bit. It's just relaxing to play. It's got a ridiculous amount of customization options where you can like change everything about like the rules of the game, the physics and shit. And it's just generally enjoyable. And it's like if you don't enjoy the way that the grappling feels, guess what? You can change basically everything about how the grappling feels. And it's a free game, which is kind of neat. I know floating point is like a coding joke, right? I only vaguely understand. I mean, a floating point is like a kind of variable, right? I don't understand what that has to do with anything. I guess it's like the main character is a pixel and there's water in the game. It's like there's in the mid part of every level, there's water, and it's basically just a gravity reversal that makes you go upside down. That makes gravity go upside down, you know. It's really cool. And with the line that your little dot leaves behind it, you can get these really cool like sine wave patterns too and shit like that. I don't know, it's weirdly fun to dick around with for how basic it is. I'd give it like a 7, like a 6.5 maybe. I'm gonna give actually, yeah, it's like right on the same tier as Refunct. Fuck, I keep repeating numbers. I guess there's only 20, so it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. There's 10, I guess, yeah, 1 through 10, and then the halves. A float is a decimal. Anyway, now we have reached, man, we are kind of plowing through these. I might even start to make some headway on the arcade games today. That would be kind of neat. I'd be down for that. Maybe I would like cut it off at the packs, because I tell you what, most of these Pac-Men I'm going to remember, but like if you really pressed me to remember which one is Super Pac-Man, actually, I feel like I could remember. That's the one with like the keys, where you get in a bunch of keys and like the doors open. And then Pac-Man Plus it would be like a pop quiz for myself. That's the one that's like a like DLC for the original game that like turns the ghosts into like Pikmin and shit. Okay, whatever. You know what? We'll get there when we get there. I would need to like go back and refresh my memory on certain games here, I feel like. I don't know. Maybe I'm a god. Maybe I'd just be able to do it. We'll see. So these 4 games are all sort of part of a series. I would almost say that the creator of these games should just compile them all into one game and just have it be 4 different levels. I think that would be fucking perfect. These are all photography games that have pretty simple mechanics, and I actually, maybe it's a slight fault of these games that I was able to play through all 4 of them without realizing. And listen, you could say I'm dumb, but chat was there too, okay? And they didn't realize this either. There's gameplay to these games. There's like a cork board with like a bunch of picture locations on it, and you need to take pictures in those locations. And then you get like one big grand view at the end. But basically, these games try to be photorealistic and are actually pretty good at it. I remember like Fushimi Inari is a temple in Japan with a bunch of those big like red archways, you know. That looked pretty cool. I remember the most visually stunning ones though were Castle Rock Beach, West Australia, and this one, Wakamarina Valley, New Zealand, which this was like a jungle. It was like a wet, dense jungle area, and this was like a beach next to like a hill or something. Super fucking realistic looking. Like, I know it's not like the absolute cutting edge of graphics, but like really kind of shocking how real some of this shit looks. Just with like the modeling and the post-processing effects and shit. This one was cool too. Iceland is a little bit of a barren place. I happen to like how Iceland looks, but even I was kind of like, yeah, this is a sort of barren location to set your photography game in. But these were all really cool. Again, I think it could even be like a slightly successful game if the guy put all these together as one game and actually asked money for them, because I think they're free or very cheap. But I found them to be enjoyable even without actually completing the goal of the games. So that should go to show that they're good, they're fun. Just to dick around and look at it and go, ooh, neat, you know. So I'm gonna give all of these like around the same score. I think even with the gameplay, you know, they don't need to have like any sort of story or plot or anything beyond just taking pictures of the environment. I think that's a perfectly adequate, like, there's a really cool means of interactivities. You have a camera, you can take pictures of things, and you need to take pictures of certain things. I think that's a tried and true formula with like Pokemon Snap and shit. I guess Dead Rising, I'm sure there's other photography games I'm not thinking of. There's that new photography Breath of the Wild. Okay. But I remember Fushimi Inari and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that Iceland they looked a little bit like less good visually, in my opinion. I don't know about like the release order of them. Maybe it's just like, maybe I'm just like biased. I'm like, these are the old ones, even though maybe they came out later. I don't know. But I remember these ones in particular. These looked fucking phenomenal. I don't know. Let's give these like a 7. It's really hard to say. Actually. And this may be like a 6.5 and then a 6.5. I think I'm going to go with that. It's really tough to say, though. A lot of these games that are not meant to be like a commercial product, it's hard to... Again, I always agonize over the ratings. And I would say, maybe, you know what? I'm going to be a huge asshole and say I'm not going to recommend these two, but these two, yeah, sure, check them out. They're beautiful. They legitimately look great. Now we got Skullgirls. Guys, we made it. It's the first game that literally anybody in chat gave a shit about today. Maybe Plug and Play and like Focus also had a little bit of love directed their way, but this is the first one anyone cares about. Skullgirls, and I'm saying this as a casual enjoyer of fighting games, but as a man who has now played quite a few fighting games, this is one of the most fun, exhilarating, well-animated, satisfying fighting games I've ever played in my life. It's amazing. Someone said bait game. Someone's like, oh, it's a porn game. Listen, guys. I know Skullgirls is relentlessly horny. Relentlessly is the perfect word for it. It's vaguely cringy, but honestly, like, just push past it, guys. This is a phenomenal fucking game. Like, I mean, who gives a shit? It's Booba, right? It is kind of like, I've talked about it too, that it's like the central theme of the game is horniness. Which is just a bit of a weird direction to take, especially when your most recent 2 DLC character releases are little girls. But whatever. That's a whole different issue. This game is fantastic. It's just the animation, it's 2D animation. All the attacks look fucking amazing. It's clearly very inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom and Darkstalkers and Street Fighter. Particularly Darkstalkers. Just so many of the moves just look so cool and are so creative and beautifully rendered, and the sound effects are fantastic. And I kind of think from a fighting game design perspective too, it's good. Like, it's a compelling fighting game, from my limited standpoint of a fighting game casual, of course. There are a few issues I have with this game. I've played a lot of the single player content, and some of that is kind of lacking. Sometimes it feels like there's a bit of misplaced effort when it comes to the story modes, where I was talking about this earlier on stream, where they're like, oh, look at these cool OCs that we made for the story mode. Haha, don't you want to see the cool OCs? And I'm like, no, show me the next fight. Just have the character say, get out of my way to the next person in line and have them fight, please. The voice acting and shit and some of the animation and story stuff is kind of cool, but it's really not great. It's not as compelling as even like Street Fighter plot stuff, which is not, of course, the main draw of Street Fighter. And Street Fighter kind of does it better, like just interspersing the story through ending cutscenes and shit like that. The music in this game is phenomenal. A great soundtrack, great fighting game music. It's very like jazzy. Whole game kind of has like a 1920s Art Deco look to it. Just like the menus and shit and some of the stages. It's got a ton of personality, so many references. Like this game, its DNA is references to all sorts of shit. It's got fucking Patrick Seitz, who is the voice of Dio. He voices the main character's hair in Skullgirls, which is pretty funny. But there's good voice acting, really satisfying music and sound effects. I really don't have many complaints. It's genuinely one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it sounds weird to say, but it is. Like, and I'm not even like a fighting game guy. I just picked up this game the other day to like play a bit of it to get some footage for a video. And I just like played through the story mode as Big Band, and I was like, man, this is so fucking fun. And so just creative and fun. It's amazing. Oh, here's something that I fucking hate. The final boss of the story mode. I know fighting game final bosses are always shit, but why do they need to be? Why do they need to be? Like, I know that it's like... I've thought about this before. I think the reason a lot of the time a final boss will be something that just completely ignores standard fighting game mechanics, like it'll be a giant thing that you can't hit stun and can't combo, is because if they did make it a character that you could hit stun and combo, then that would have to, they would feel like, you know, we have to make that character playable as well, or else people will feel like they're getting cheated out of a playable character, you know? Like they kind of had this with Street Fighter 3, for instance. In New Generation, the final boss was Gil, and he was just completely unplayable. And then he still never became a playable character, but later on they added Urien, who was kind of a semi-clone of Gil, that used a lot of the same sprite animations. So, I don't know, maybe they feel obligated to make the final boss like a weird, dumb gimmick fest, but it's so fucking ridiculously unfun to fight. Ridiculously unfun to fight. It's just like a thing that sits there, can't get comboed, and spams projectiles at you. And the more you hit it, the more projectiles it spams at you. And some of them, I legitimately, like the big bone snake that she throws at you, I legit don't know what you're supposed to fucking do as that. Like, unless you're like playing Big Band, just parry lol. I don't know. It's like just jump perfectly over it every time. Don't be in the middle of an attack ever when she summons it, even though that can just happen. It's the fucking waterfowl dance of Skullgirls. I'm sorry. That final boss is just trash. A lot of the time, I remember I got to the point, like years ago, I would play this just casually offline against CPUs, and I got to the point where I was good enough that I could just breeze through the entire arcade mode on nightmare difficulty, but then I would just stop playing when I got to Marie. I would just be like, and that's the end. That's the end of story mode. I beat it. I win. Fuck you. Because it was just a tedious piece of shit. I just hated it. Yeah, and then there's the Chad Dong Dong Never Die. Makes their boss character a playable character, and he's just as powerful as when he's a boss, and it's hilarious. Yeah, that shit's pretty good. But anyway, those are my few criticisms of this game. Otherwise, like, I just love the creativity of all the characters. Like, some of them are kind of lame, like Valentine and Parasol, or just kind of whatever. Even they have cute stuff, though. But, like, my favorite characters are the ones that, like, transform and shit when they do moves, like Eliza and Big Band. I think those are my two favorite characters in the game. Just watching the animations on this game is just a feast for the eyes, and it's so imaginative and cool and full of personality. Just love it. This game's like a 9 out of 10 to me, I think. Genuinely, ridiculously good. Would recommend. And plus, tits. On top of all that, tits. Urien is an asshole character, and anyone who plays him is a loser. I've heard a lot of hatred towards Urien mains. Urien and Oro seem really annoying to fight against, but Oro's like a mid-tier. Urien's like top tier or some shit, or high tier. And of course, I've barely played Third Strike. I just watch competitive Third Strike a bit. Anywho, Narbacular Drop. Okay, this game was kind of disappointing. This is the game that... the precursor to Portal. There's a school nearby where I live called Digipen that Valve used to like to go to sort of recruit people who had interesting game ideas. And infamously, Narbacular Drop was a student project at Digipen. Gaben himself went to a showing, saw the game, and hired a bunch of the people who worked on the game on the spot. I think one of them was Kim Swift, who then, of course, went on to create Portal. I was expecting Narbacular Drop to be better, honestly, but really the only resemblance that it has to Portal is the portal mechanic and like the way that you can see through the portals. I'm sure this isn't even the first game to have that mechanic in it, you know, where an object goes in one place and gets like it's just teleporting. It's just, I mean, Doom in a sense has portals, you know, in terms of like warp pads and shit, but the fact that you can place them anywhere you want, I guess, is kind of the gimmick. And of course, like the whole thing where you can see through them and shit. It is a cool effect, but this game, I was expecting a bunch of like cool proto-Portal puzzles, but there was a bunch of shit that you never really see in Portal. Like there was these puzzles with like fire crabs that you have to ride across. There was like a turtle that you have to ride across the lava, and there were these big boulders that you had to like stealth past using the portals. It was weird. Hold on. I had to snort my nose. And then the ending of this game, it's also got like music that's like pretty mid. I don't know. It's just whatever. Nothing exceptional. It's not like the fucking atmospheric masterpiece that is Portal's soundtrack. Good old Kelly Bailey dropped that Fire mixtape. God, remember Fire mixtape? But Narbacular Drop was not very good, and the ending, it was like literally unfinished. I think it was like there was supposed to be a boss encounter, and it just literally wasn't there. And then the game was just like, it's over, bye. And I was like, oh. And like the puzzles weren't really that satisfying. And I think there was like one demo room where you could like see 3D models of like the boss and shit. And they were like, yeah, this was supposed to be in the game, but we didn't finish it, which is huge student project video game vibes. I can relate. But, you know, of course, it doesn't hold a candle to Portal at all. And it's probably not even really worth playing. Even if you're a huge Portal fan, I would say, honestly, I'm going to sound really rude to this game, but I'm sure the creators of it would be like, yeah, that was shit. I don't know, like a 2. Give it a 2. However, Tag the Power of Paint is quite good, and this was Portal like -2 or whatever the fuck you want to call it. The title of that video didn't make any sense anyway. I was thinking I'm making a Kingsfield video, and I was thinking about titling it like Dark Souls -3, 4, and 5. But I don't think that would really work well. I think I'm just going to call it the PlayStation can produce mind-boggling effects. That's the plan, at least. But Tag the Power of Paint has a very similar situation to Narbacular Drop. It was a Digipen game. Valve, I don't know if it was Gaben himself this time, but Valve picked them up after they made this game and hired them on to create the to work on Portal 2 with the compulsion, or whatever they call it, compulsion gel, repulsion gel, and propulsion gel, and the cum too. Don't forget the cum. But this game is pretty neat. It's got a kind of cool aesthetic. Like Narbacular Drop just has this weird like cave dungeon aesthetic that's kind of lame. But Tag actually has a pretty strong visual aesthetic, this kind of like stark graffiti vibe. You have a paint gun. You use these paints that are a lot like the gels in Portal 2 to solve various platforming puzzles in first person. It's pretty good. It's a little buggy. I remember there being a really fucking annoying bug with there's one paint in this game that didn't make it into Portal 2, and that's the stuff that makes you cling to any surface. I encountered a really annoying bug that like made me restart the game, and somebody had to tell me how to like SV cheats to the level that I was at, so I didn't have to replay the whole game. But it like fucks up your controls and makes it like impossible to move properly. That was really annoying, but otherwise, I don't even know. That might just be an issue with playing it on modern computers or something. And it doesn't happen all the time, just some of the time. But pretty satisfying puzzles. It's got a cool look to it. I think it might have like just basically fine music. Again, nothing sticks out in my memory. But this one is actually a lot more worth playing than Narbacular Drop. And yes, this game does contain Hobo STD, our favorite font. I don't know, this one's like a 7 actually. Like it's fine. It's a decent game. It's short and sweet, but it works. It's a little underrated. Play this instead of Narbacular Drop. Okay. Oh God. Sorry, I just have to do like jaw exercises. Gonna drink some water too. It would be -1, -2, and -3. Not so. Because Dark Souls -1 is Demon's Souls. Dark Souls -2 is King's Field 4. Then -3, 4, and 5 are King's Field 3, 2, and 1. That's how it works. I've thought it through, chat. I've thought it through, my own dumbass ideas. Have you ever heard of FNAF? I think you'd like it and also play it on stream. I played it on stream, and I reviewed it on stream. And the sequel. Boom. 6.5, motherfucker. Would not recommend. Anyway. Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP. This game is a huge... This one's kind of like Knit Underground, where, like, this game's got a lot of stuff that I like and a lot of stuff that just I hate, that like vaguely pisses me off. This game's got really annoying dialogue. It's like, how do I frame this game? This game is like a point-and-click adventure game that's kind of made for mobile devices. So when you're playing it on PC, because it has a PC port, it is gonna feel kind of slow and clunky and like kind of weird. Maybe not clunky, but everything's very smooth and I don't know. It's hard to describe. It feels like a mobile game, even the PC version. And you have to be pretty patient for this game in a lot of ways. It's a very avant-garde game where you're like in this sort of medieval fantasy world, and you're like fighting monsters or whatever. But there's sort of this meta element of like, they break the fourth wall a lot, and like there's a ton of just like a big slumgullion of a bunch of different like artsy ass ideas. Like your main character starts out with 4 hit points and like loses a hit point over the course of the game like 4 times until the end, which, spoiler alert, they just die. And like throughout the game, everybody's saying, oh yeah, you're on your horrible quest to go like die and sacrifice yourself, and you're like, oh, I guess I am, I don't know. It's very surreal and weird. It's got a cool fucking soundtrack, really eclectic and weird soundtrack that I like. If you've ever watched Indie Game the Movie, here's a little fun fact about this. The guy who did the soundtrack is called Jim Guthrie, I believe. Also did the soundtrack for Indie Game the Movie, and some of the tracks from, I think maybe just one of them, maybe a couple of them, he reused some tracks from Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery in Indie Game the Movie. The song The Maelstrom plays in both this game and Indie Game the Movie. He just reused it, which is kind of funny. But genuinely really good music. The dialogue in this game pisses me off. It's like they tried way too hard to be... It's kind of, how Adventure Time is like, wow, Jake, that was super fantabuloso mathematical and shit like that. They kind of try to be like quirky in the dialogue like that and say like super verbose things alongside like, heh, dude, bro, like, heh. And it just comes across really cringy, honestly. But if you can push past that, or if you just don't mind that, it is a cool game. Cool music, neat atmosphere. It just kind of feels like a dream. And it's got those sort of neat artsy ideas. It's got some other sort of like fourth wall breaking stuff. I think another big defining... I wouldn't go into like all the details of every fourth wall breaking thing because we'll be here all day. But one big defining thing of this game is it like separates itself into like 4 acts. And it's like the first act, it's like, oh, just play this game for like 15 minutes and we'll introduce you to the game and then go do something else. And the later chunks of the game, you have to wait for certain phases of the moon in real life to access stuff in the game. And of course, you can just change your computer's calendar to be a certain phase of the moon. I remember when I streamed this, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to actually wait for the phases of the moon in order to do this. And then I think, did I give up on that and just cheat by the end? I don't know if I ended up going through with that. I went through with it for at least a few of the sessions, but it's like a really artsy, weird idea. I can see how it would be off-putting to some people. Like, what the fuck is up with this? Why is it making me wait real time or change my computer's calendar? This is just fucking stupid. It's a neat idea. I don't know. It doesn't really... I don't think it really works because I think most people are just going to cheat it, or you're going to have this situation where people have to wait a really long time and then they kind of forget what was like going on in the game when they come back to it. And I don't know if they were trying to get people... They were trying to make that effect happen or what, but it's kind of sloppy. A lot of it is just kind of like neat artsy ideas applied sloppily, which makes it an interesting experience and not like totally without value. It's got kind of neat fights too, like the combat is sort of interesting. It's designed around being able to be played on mobile, so you play it with your mouse, which is really strange. It's like only your mouse. But it's actually pretty satisfying combat. It's not too difficult, but it offers a challenge. I remember, like, some of the more pretentious fourth wall breaks just get kind of annoying in this game. But some of it, I don't know. Depending on what kind of person you are and what your tolerance is for artsy bullshit, judge whether or not you want to play this. I guess I'm just on the fence. Just on the cusp of not recommending it, but I guess I will. It's got enough cool stuff. It's got kind of cool pixel art, too. It's got kind of a hipstery pixel art style, but it does look good. I think the game is visually appealing. It's got that thing where there's pixel art, and then there's just like vector art alongside the pixel art, and it looks really weird and uncanny. And I don't know if that was intentional. They cite like David Lynch and like Twin Peaks as a inspiration in the game explicitly. There's a song on the soundtrack that's a reference to The Pink Room, which is quite a good song. It's called Ode to a Room. Both good songs. But I don't know. It's just a super mixed bag, incredibly mixed bag. But I think overall the scale tips towards I do like it. Generally. Let's give it like a 7. Gnug. This game was neat. I think, it was like made by Double Fine, wasn't it? Wasn't this like a secret Double Fine game? Also, my music, oh my god. The FTL theme 10 hours came on and was on for so long that YouTube automatically paused it. Just to like check if I was still watching. Do they even do that? I've never seen that before. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I know nobody cares. You can't hear the music that I'm listening to, so why would you care? Let me look it up here. Gnug. Double Fine presents. Okay, it's one of those. So it's not like by like the main, like the people who made like Psychonauts and shit, but it's kind of produced by Double Fine. But this was kind of a cool, cute game. There's a game that I'll review later called Vignettes that's kind of similar. It's basically a game where you have a series of boxes. They're like these cool, like colorful, kind of childish, cartoonish looking boxes that are like a puzzle box that you have to like figure out what kind of things. But the puzzles are very surreal. This was my main issue with the game, actually, was that a lot of the time it was kind of like open quotes puzzles, like where there's not really much logic to it. You just kind of like fiddle around with things until it finally works. And sometimes it felt kind of obtuse. Chat was informing me that my brain was the size of a single fucking atom and that I am the dumbest person on the planet. So maybe this was just a user error skill issue. But I kind of found some of them, the puzzle boxes, to be a little frustrating or just like unintuitive, where it was like when I found the solution, I was like, okay, like what the fuck was that? Another criticism I have of this game is that there are like knobs in the game that you have to turn. And I went on like a tirade about the fucking knobs. I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to control the knobs. You would think, okay, a lot of time when there's a virtual knob, and I'm not talking about a fucking penis, in a video game, or in like editing software or whatever, you click on it, and then you drag straight up or straight down, and it like increases or decreases the knob. And I tried that, that doesn't work. Okay. So I need to move my mouse in like a circle, you know, a circular motion like that. Nope, that doesn't work either. Literally, what do I do then? Those were the two options. Those were the two options open for me. Neither of them worked. I could never figure out how the fuck to consistently turn the knobs in that game, and it was insanely frustrating. Scroll wheel? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if it was like my version of the game was like broken or something, but the knobs just didn't goddamn work, and it was so frustrating. And I remember getting really heated at this game, even though it's an overall very pleasant experience. Lots of clean vector art. The game looks very nice presentation-wise. I remember when you beat every level, it gives you like this little song where like the box goes like no, no, no. And there's like yeah, 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 like weird music in the background and like objects everywhere. It's very vague. It's just kind of it feels like a baby sensory game a little bit. It is neat. I don't mean to just like go off about it. This is another one I'm on the fence about recommending. I wouldn't say I do recommend it though. I don't know. It's like, it kind of has that like corporate art style to it. Like I don't exactly vibe with the art style of this game. It feels, it's like almost a little too clean and like poppy and kiddie. I don't know. It's a neat game though. It's not without merit. I like the neat puzzle box idea, and the visuals are clean and well produced. But yeah, not really for me. Not really for me. Maybe like a 5.5. Nah, like a 6. Like, does anybody? It was designed for VR. You just have to like actually turn the knob with your real hands. Old Man's Journey. This one was kind of boring. It had a neat gameplay idea. It's kind of like Brain Dead, where not really, because I could control the main character. It was like a point and click adventure where you're an old man on like a hike going cross country, and you sort of like drag and drop the mountains to make a path for him that he can actually walk across. And there's this sort of like forced perspective puzzles where there'll be like, you know, a mountain that's really close to the camera, open quotes camera, that you need to like drag up and kind of use like, it's kind of like that game Perspective that I played, where you like make a platforming environment in 3D and then pause it and then play it in 2D. It's sort of like that. It was kind of a neat idea. Very slow game, and a lot of it was just kind of like going through the motions. Like there were very few actual like sort of puzzle-esque things where you actually had to think about what you were doing. Kind of just made the game drag on and on and on. I think I remember when I was done with it, I was like, wow, that game could have been like half as long as it was. and have been, you know, a little bit less of a drag by the end. But whatever. It is cute. There's a sequel? What? Is that the game that has an old man sound pack? No, that was actually completely unrelated. That wasn't related to any game. Some guy just made that old man voice sound pack. And it was like part of a bundle that I bought. And I was like, why the fuck would I ever use this? But the art looks kind of nice. I don't know. It doesn't have a super distinct art style, but it's pretty. I remember there were some cute parts where you're riding on a train and you need to sort of like, you know, make the horizon rise to meet the train. Sort of cool visuals. I remember it had kind of sad, bittersweet, sappy ending. It was pretty mid. It was pretty mid, honestly. Don't know if I would recommend just because it's a little too long, kind of boring. But it's got a cool concept. Concept could have been done better, I think. Weird nitpick, but I think the main character of this game did not have a lot of frames of animation. And I was like, man, you're going to be looking at this character walking on every single screen of the game, basically. Would you not make the animation look a little better? But whatever. I might even be remembering that wrong. I'd probably give this one like a 6 too. Fuck. This is genuinely my opinion. It's not because there's a 6 above it. It's not because there's a 6 above it. I know people are going to be like, oh, it's just because there's a 6 right there. He's giving it another 6. No. No. Okay, here is the exuberantly named Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a Whirlwind Heist, which I think maybe just barely beats out Runner 2. Oh, it beats out Runner 2 by a lot. Bit Trip presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien, and What Linus Bruckman Sees When His Eyes Are Closed, and Flying Dutchman, all pale in comparison to the length, the sheer girth of this game's name. This is made by, I think, one of the same people who made the Stanley Parable. I think it's like not Davey Reedon, it's the other guy. And I'm so sorry for that other guy. I don't remember your name. I think this is correct. I might be wrong on this. I think this game is free or very cheap at the very least. It's a neat game. It is very Stanley Parable-esque, like insanely so. It's another sort of like quirky, subversive game where you're walking through a 3D environment, pressing buttons while a narrator talks at you about how, oh, everything's going wrong. And I know that sounds like it's just a total rehash of the idea, but it's actually pretty good. I liked it. And it was like just different enough to warrant its existence. The gimmick of it is kind of like you're supposed to be playing a demo for a game, but when you come in, they're like, hey, I'm sorry, but there's actually somebody else doing the demo right now, and we don't have anybody running anything behind the scenes. Could you go help them through the demo behind the scenes while they're doing it? And you kind of hear the demo happening, all the stuff about like the whirlwind heist. You hear the tiger. You never actually see the tiger, but you see like the box that it's like kept in and shit. And you like press the button to release it into the demo and shit like that. It's pretty fun and quirky and funny, but nothing mind-blowing. Don't expect anything that's just gonna, I don't know. The original Stanley Parable wasn't exactly mind-blowing either, but even then, I think the originality is just slightly diluted in this one because it is such a similar vibe. But it's good. It's a clean, well-made game. Funny, good dialogue, good voice performance. It's got good jokes. Would recommend. It's very short, though. I don't know, this one feels like another, like, 7. See, but this 7 is very different from Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery's 7. Because that's, like, a deeply flawed game that also has a lot of really cool stuff. This one's just kind of like, yeah, you know? It's just like, yeah. I probably will play Ultra Deluxe Stanley Parable at a certain point. I probably should have played it right when it came out, honestly. So we could do like an Obra Dinn situation where nobody can spoil me on all the like hidden shit. But oops, I took too long. The Static Speaks My Name. This one was kind of lame. This was like a first-person walking sim type thing. It kind of had a neat sort of hostile sort of like internet forum core vibe to it. But it wasn't very good. I don't even remember what this game was like getting on about. I remember it was like you eat shrimp and you talk on internet forums, and there's a guy in a cage in your bedroom that you have to feed and shit like that. The main story was like about a guy who is obsessing about this one painting of two palm trees, and that was kind of a neat concept. And it's some like slightly interesting stuff with that, but the rest of it, I was just like, what is this? It's just kind of nonsense. I don't know. There really wasn't much to it. And I think, spoiler alert, it like ends with the main character like killing themselves or some shit like that. It was just kind of a nothing game, honestly. I did like the painting thing. That was my favorite part of it. Like a 2.5, I'd say. Okay, here we are. Undertale, the second game that anybody gives a shit about after Skullgirls. And it just so happens that I was playing this game just earlier today, or I was watching Lark play it at least. Listen, I don't need to tell you about Undertale. You know what Undertale is. But I happen to really, really, really like this game. I know that it's basically a hot take to like Undertale at this point. There's been so much unwarranted hate towards this game, I think, that it's essentially a hot take to like it. That's not necessarily true. But just a really cool video game overall. Like, it's fun, it's funny, well-written dialogue, characters that I like. I really enjoy all the weird fourth wall breaking shit, all the stuff about like repeating your save file, the different paths that you can take. Genocide, I get that like they were trying to do a thing where it's like you don't want to do genocide because it's so like there's a reason it's grindy, and it's because it's kind of supposed to like kill your soul a little bit doing it. But I think genocide could have been made a little less tedious, honestly, because that's like the main reason I haven't done it, you know? And I feel like the game almost kind of wants to bait you into doing genocide and then like chide you for doing it. But I really enjoy all the meta shit and the metaton. This game's got a fucking phenomenal soundtrack. 101 songs. Yes, there are some filler songs on there. I kind of feel like, I was talking about this earlier today, I kind of feel like Toby Fox was stretching to have a 100-song soundtrack, but a lot of those songs, a huge amount of them, are so fucking good. Amazing bangers. The game's visual style, it is, people were talking, they were like, you know, compared to Deltarune, this game looks like crusty and rudimentary. And I kind of see that from what little I've seen of Deltarune. And like, yeah, it is kind of crusty. Like a lot of the sprites are like asymmetrical and shit. I kind of think that adds to its charm though, in a huge way. I think that's like a lot of the reason why people connected with it so much was because it kind of has a cute, simple art style. And I think they did a lot to work well with the art style, with what constraints they had. The in-game battle sprites actually do look pretty good. The overworld sprites sometimes are just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But the in-game battle sprites, it's like, yeah, this actually looks pretty good. It's like well animated. I love the battle system in this game, the like dodge 'em up mechanic. And there's just a lot of, it's a game that's of course littered with really, really cool details. Just tons, just more than you could ever list in one review, of course. And I wouldn't even wish to, like, I don't know, spoil it for people who haven't played it, because I know there are some. But yeah, it's just a great game, fun game mechanics. I like that the bosses, each boss, like major boss, mixes up the gameplay in sort of a fun, interesting way. That's not just completely gimmicky. It's like interesting and cool. Just a really stellar game, especially, I know this is like not Toby Fox's or Temmie Chang's first video game development experience at all, but it's like kind of their first big release, you know, their first like big published game, and it's shocking how good it is. And what an insane amount of detail there is to this game, considering it was made by one or two people, you know? It's kind of fucking insane. I'm struggling to think of things that I don't like about it. I was kind of thinking earlier today, the dating segments, they get a little old. Even they are funny, though. They're just a little... I remember when I was streaming that game, somebody said they were, like, a little overindulgent. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's the best way to term it. But I think, yeah, it's, like... I think this game deserves its popularity. And that cannot be said for every Omega popular indie game or every Omega popular anything. But I really do think it's deserving of its fame. And I think it truly did have a big impact on the medium, just with being subversive, you know? And I know it inspired a lot of sort of perceived copycats, like the Everhood or whatever. I've gone off about that. But I still think it's a landmark title. I really do think it is that. It's a great video game. I'd give it like a... I don't think I would give it a perfect 10. There's just like little parts of it here and there that are annoying. There's my issue with like the genocide route being like a little too grindy. But really, I basically have almost no complaints about the game. Stellar video game. I know everybody either disagrees with this opinion so hard that they will never be swayed on it, or already agrees with me, so it's pointless saying this, but it's an incredible fucking video game. One of my most memorable gaming experiences going through that game for the first time. Okay. Pet the Pup at the Party. Now we're gonna do two... Spoiler alert, these two games are fucking shit. I did not like either of these. Pet the Pup at the Party. It was like, oh, dog game and a cat game. Teehee. These are both kind of like quirky itch.io titles. And Pet the Pup at the Party was like, it's very fun to say, Pet the Pup at the Party. Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of whatever. It was like a 2.5D type game. I remember that like the other characters were not 3D models. They were just like 2D sprites, and everything kind of was like a quirky, cute, hand-drawn style. Game just didn't look visually that great, and also it was just kind of a lame idea. I don't know. It was a good idea, because the core premise is you're at a party, you're antisocial, there's a bunch of people around, but you can hear a dog, and you're trying to find the dog. I've gone off about how stereo sound just doesn't work for me in video games. Like, I'm just too dumb, apparently, because I don't know what it is, but I really feel like stereo sound in video games just doesn't give you the same amount of information as you're getting in real life. And I know you only have two ears, so it makes sense that it would be, you know, it's just the same exact amount of information as you're getting in real life, but I can never use it to my advantage. So I can't tell where the fucking dog is coming from, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it works. It's not like it never works, but a lot of the time it doesn't help much. And that's like the main gameplay mechanic, is like trying to find this dog using your stereo sound and like interact with as few people as possible. It's a cute idea, but even not talking about the stereo sound thing, I think there's like other hints as to where the dog is too. It just wasn't a terribly compelling game. I think it was like randomly generated too, but it like didn't need to be. I might be wrong about that. It was either randomly generated or just every level was fucking generic as shit. But it was just one of those games where I was like, yeah, this is a cute idea. You made it into a game and it's just kind of nothing. Like, it could have been more compelling and could have been an experience that I actually want to play for more than like 2 minutes, you know? But as it stands, I just boot it up, go, oh yeah, teehee, I'm antisocial too. Okay, I'm done playing this. Anyway, would not recommend either of these. Let's just spoil that straight away. Nope. Noppy, the shot from Downwell. Guys, I'm so happy about the progress we've made today. This is huge poggers. Huge poggers. I don't know if I'll start on arcade games. After I'm done with cat lateral damage, I'm going to take a big drink of water. I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to decide. Pet the Pup at the Party, it was like a 2, I don't know. It was like barely anything. Cat lateral damage was a little bit better. The visual style of this game was kind of ugly. Can I bring up a picture of cat lateral damage to show you the like ugly ass 3D models? I'm gonna hold off on saying things like ugly ass because of course this is just a random, this is a video game made by probably like 1 or 2 people out of love based on a corny joke. I shouldn't be so rude, but I just think this game kind of visually looks like shit. Can I get like the first person camera? Maybe in my memory I was being too hard on it. Oh, it's a fucking WebP. I hate WebP. I genuinely hate WebP so much. Okay, whatever. The 3D models just don't look very good. Here we go. JPEG image. Fuck yes. I don't know. The 3D models just look kind of ugly. It's like a vaguely cute cat. I just remember a lot of them just look kind of like crappy and like thrown together, and like models that are like too detailed. They have like, it's like a low poly-esque aesthetic, but there would be things that have like too many polygons and they just look like weird and lumpy and choppy. I don't know. Game just didn't visually look amazing, and it's basically about a cat running around. You're playing as a cat running around on shelves, knocking everything down. And, again, this is another game where I'm like, this is a concept you could have made into a very satisfying video game, where you just make it completely cathartic to just knock all this shit onto the floor. But honestly, like the physics engine and the main like little batting swipe attack that you get are just not really worth it. Like it's just not terribly fun. Didn't we find like a little 3D modeled Binding of Isaac or something in it? It's got like cute little references, but it's just a gameplay concept that is another thing like Pet the Pup at the Party, where you're like, okay, I play this for like 2 seconds. I get the joke. Cats like to knock things off shelves. It's not actually fun, so I'm not going to keep playing this. And then you move on with your life. But it's a little sad looking at games like this because they could have developed it into something more fun. I think apparently there's a remaster of the cat lateral damage. I saw pictures of that when I was Google image searching it. I can't attest to that version. Maybe it looks and plays way better. But I think the score that you get is like the amount of money that it will cost to repair all the things that you broke, which is kind of a cute detail. I think this one's better than Pet the Pup at the Party because it's got a little more gameplay to it. But even this is like a 3.5. Just kind of not substantial. And okay, now it's time. I'm literally just gonna sit here for like 10 seconds and take a drink of water and just relax and ruminate on if I want to continue. I mean, we're not going to do all of these today. Not by a long shot. I would just do a few of these. I think I'll do a few of them. Fuck it. We got a lot to review, so... And I think next stream I'm going to try to just do all the arcade games. So maybe I'll go up to the beginning of the packs or something. I'm going to snort. Lightning round. Yeah, okay. So let's do a few of these. So Tattoo Assassins... This is a traditional 2D fighting game that was trying to capitalize on the popularity of Mortal Kombat. It's got like a weird crass sense of humor. All the characters have like magic tattoos that turn to life and like summon animals and shit and can like give them crazy powers. It feels super like just cheap and shitty. But at least it's got like a vaguely okay premise with the tattoos. Something to remember about this game. This is one of the very few games, prestigious elite games, that holds the distinction of having a dedicated fart button for every single character in the game. So no matter what character you are playing, there is a universal fart command where your character will bend over and like let a huge cloud of like green gas rip out of their ass and hurt the opponent. So it's basically the best game ever made. 10 out of 10. No, it's bad. It's not terribly fun to play. It's, to me, a casual enjoyer of fighting games. It's about as enjoyable as Mortal Kombat or like Street Fighter the movie, the game. It's got a similar feel to those, you know. It's got those, you know, the pictures of real people dressed up like assholes doing random bullshit. Not really much to say else about the game. Like, the characters, they tried to make memorable, unique characters. God bless them, and some of them are vaguely memorable, but the whole game just feels cheap and crass and weird. And it's, of course, not really worth playing for anything but funny fart value. Would not recommend. Oh, this game infamously was never officially released, by the way. Or it was only, maybe had a very limited release or something like that. But eventually the ROM got dumped, and that's how we were able to play it. So yeah, despite the guess, this is not a good game. It's got some like character and personality, and it's like vaguely funny, which always increases a score for a game for me. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. I'm sorry. I know it's the same as cat lateral damage. Fuck. Primal Rage. This one, you're gonna have to, a lot of these arcade games, you're gonna have to keep in mind that these are all emulated, as you can see, mostly using MAME, which is a good emulator. However, a lot of games, including Primal Rage, have issues when emulated. Primal Rage, I think, had an issue where it was like impossible to input moves. Like, a lot of the moves the inputs just simply didn't work. There was something wrong with the controls. There was this issue where it's a dinosaur fighting game where it's like claymation dinosaurs, which is pretty fucking awesome, honestly. It's done decently well. They've got neat moves, but we played a version of the game that was barely functional, and it was not very fun in that form. So I would say this game would probably get a higher rating off emulator, but this is a rating of the emulated edition. I've heard that this is just an issue with Primal Rage. I think it had like pretty severe anti-copy, or what do they have? Sometimes certain games, I forget what the term is for it, but they'll have like anti-piracy measures where it's like encoded. The game is like encoded in such a way that like you can't like rip the files or anything. You can't rip or dump them. So yeah, like copy protection, I don't know. They kind of had to like reverse engineer parts of the game to get it running in emulator, and even then it's not perfect. So it's a neat dinosaur fighting game. Like, I appreciate, you know, all the artistry that went into posing all the little figurines and taking pictures of them, of course. It's got a kind of limited roster, though, honestly. I think it's got like 7 characters, and like 3 of those are recolors of other characters. It's got goofy finishing moves. I guess Tattoo Assassins also has this. It's a defining feature of both games. I guess it's worth mentioning for Tattoo Assassins as well. That it's got just a plethora of crazy, crass, weird, cartoonish finishing moves that are like 90% of the comic value to be found in these games. Primal Rage has the infamous Golden Shower one, where the monkey pisses on you and like melts your flesh with his piss. There's stuff like that. I don't know, it's like childish fun, but it's actually, even in Tattoo Assassins, it was pretty hard to do the inputs for the finishers, so it was really inconsistent getting them. This is an issue with a lot of old fighting games for me. It's also worth noting we were not playing them with like the kind of controllers that they were originally designed to be played with. Primal Rage, I remember specifically a lot of the moves, the ways that you input the moves was like a really clunky method too. Like, not only was it not working on emulator, but it was also really clunky. honestly, overall, Primal Rage was like a 4. It was a little better than Tattoo Assassins, but like the emulator issues and just the weird controls kind of like killed it for me too. And limited roster size. Would not recommend. There's a Primal Rage 2 that I don't know if it ever even got released, but I think there's a ROM for that out there that's like equally hard to emulate, where you like turn into humans during battle or something. I don't know if we'll ever check that out. Then we got Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire, Jackie Chan Densetsu. This is a improved version of the original Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire, I think, or whatever the original one was called. But it's the Jackie Chan fighting game. It's again similar to Mortal Kombat, where it's photographs of real people, including Jackie Chan several times. I think there's 3 different playable Jackie Chans. Jackie Chan. That's not a thing. The plural of Jackie Chan is Jackie Chen, not Jackie Chans. I'm tired. This one's the most fun to play out of all 3 of these, because these were all streamed in sequence with one another with Lark. This one's actually a little bit more fun to play than the others. It's got that like arcadey. There are certain parts where you're like on the ground and you need to get up, and it's like wiggle the arcade stick back and forth and shit. And you're like, it's a little more casual friendly. This game's really weird in terms of like fighting game mechanics. I seem to remember like every character has like a universal dash option, which is just insane on the ground, but then all the jumps are like super shitty and floaty, which makes for like a super ground-based metagame. But I don't know, it's just the controls are really weird and like unlike a lot of other fighting games I've played. But that being said, from a casual perspective, it was fun. It was funny. It's a solid B game, I would say. There's funny aspects to it, like how every character except for the Jackie Chan characters has like a gory finisher, but the Jackie Chan guys just go like down on one knee and go, "You're getting better," and shit like that, which is kind of funny. I think the 3 Jackie Chan playable characters were originally bosses in the first release of the game, so that might be why they don't have gory finishers. It's not just like favoritism. But it was actually pretty fun. I don't know. It's like a 6. It's like a 6. Of all 3 of these, I would recommend this one. But you know, I don't think I'm even. It's not in context of the stream that it was in. It's just in general. I don't know. This is another one. Maybe I should make a game of a list of like cool B games where it's like, don't expect like a great game, but expect like a funny, interesting game. You know? I don't know. Play it alongside SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge. Okay, I think we're gonna go up to Pac-Man, up to the first Pac-Man. I'm sorry to the person who said I will not leave until he reviews packs, because you're gonna be here all fucking like week or whatever. Bubble Bobble. This one's a classic, and this is something that's been iterated on a lot of times. I personally am not the biggest fan of Bubble Bobble, of all the like classic arcade platformers. It's vaguely fun, but there's so many levels in Bubble Bobble, and the game just never fucking ends. Like, none of these games have an end, and there's so many levels that I don't think I'll ever complete one of them. Because the gameplay overall is pretty samey. It's just shooting bubbles at enemies and popping them with your, like, head spikes. Something about that whole aspect of it, too, popping the enemies' bubbles with your head spikes always felt kind of, like, janky and, not inconsistent, but just kind of a hokey mechanic that I could never quite get the hang of. They're cute little characters, but I don't really remember there being much special about this game for me personally. Besides the fact that you can pick up a shoe and a cross, and you can smite your enemies with the power of God. So I don't know if I'd recommend. It's cute. It's part of gaming history, but not really amazing. Give it like a 4.5, I guess. Dig Dug is kind of a similar tier. It's, I guess you could consider, it's not really a platformer, but it's kind of a similar thing. moving around, avoiding enemies, killing them. This is the inflation game. This is the game where you kill enemies by pumping them full of air until they burst, which I don't know if any of you are into that. Maybe if you're into that, you'll enjoy Dig Dug more than I did. As it stands, it's not terribly fun, and the gameplay is not like varied enough for it to be like entertaining in any other way besides just general fun gameplay. I don't know. This one's like a 3.5. I'd say this one's like a 4 to me. Wouldn't recommend. There's like a Redux version of this game and a lot of other games that is in the Namco Classics collection, which we played some of the arrangement versions. The arrangement versions are better. We never actually played Dig Dug arrangement on stream, but it is better than the other one, but not by much. It's just like better graphics and the controls are slightly less shitty. I remember Dig Dug being kind of frustrating with how slow your character moves, and you kind of have to like awkwardly navigate. You're always like crushing yourself with boulders and shit. Give me a second to drink some water here. We're in the home stretch, folks. We're in the home stretch. We are probably gonna clear out this list like this month or something. If I keep going this fast, the end is gonna be, that's the steak to chew on though. Because we've got the entire fuck you, I hate it when it does that. Entire Street Fighter series, entire Dark Souls series, all the PopCap games, Sonic games, fucking Kingsfield. We just got a lot of stuff right at the end because I like sorted a few things by series. The fucking Humongous Entertainment games are down here for some reason. All right. But we're going through these at a good clip, I'd say. Next time, yeah, we're just gonna try to clear out all the rest of these arcade games. And Area 51. It counts too. And then there's so many of these games are just like random shit, like fucking Pico Hot and Paint game, where it's gonna be easy to review them. I totally won't talk about some random garbage nothing game for 2 hours. Anyway, where was I? Burger time. This one's vaguely fun. I would put this like roughly on the same level as like the original Donkey Kong. It's a very similar game. You're climbing up ladders and like avoiding enemies. And you have to assemble burgers. And the ingredients of the burgers like fall down on the enemies and kill them. And you can stun the enemies with like salt or pepper or something. It's actually vaguely fun. It gets pretty brutal, and it's just like one or two. It's like the same few levels repeated over and over again. But it is kind of compelling. It's like it's kind of like a maze game in a way, kind of like Pac-Man, where you're just trying to like exploit the enemy AI to the best of your ability while creating as many hamburgers as you can. And it's vaguely satisfying. I don't know. Like, what did I give Donkey Kong? A 5? I would give this like the exact same score as the original Donkey Kong. I guess that was like the NES version of Donkey Kong, but that's not that different. It's just missing a level. No, still wouldn't recommend, but it's better than some other arcade games of these type. Now, Root Beer Tapper, this is the good shit. This is an actual fun arcade game. I would recommend this. Yes, I played the non-alcoholic version. There is an alcoholic version of this game that's just called Tapper. They are identical gameplay-wise, I think. But it's actually fun. It's an enjoyable game. You're playing as this dude who's serving up a bunch of bar patrons. There's like a bunch of bars. I don't think there's any bar in the universe where it actually works like this, but there's like a bunch of bars, and you're at the end of all the bars. Whoa. And you're sliding drinks down each bar to the patrons. And it's very fun and sort of goofy and cartoonish. And it is a genuinely very satisfying game. It's like you're trying to sort of multitask serving a bunch of people at once. there's really not much else to say about it. It's just a basically satisfying arcade game. Rating, when there's an arcade game that I like, it's gonna pain me so much to give it a high score, because again, it's gonna be like something that's the same score that I gave to like Mario RPG or something. And it's fucking Root Beer Tapper. But yeah, I don't know, this is like a 7. It's a fun game, and it was actually quite addictive playing it. It was the sort of game where I'm like, oh, I want to put another quarter in and try again, get a higher score, which is not something you can really say of most arcade games. Most arcade games fail at that. Mappy, this is another kind of maze game. This game bears a lot of resemblance to Pee-Pee and Beebus, otherwise known as Whoopee. Of course, that game came after this, but it's a game where you're playing as a little mouse. You may be seeing the mouse in Smash Brothers in one of Pac-Man's taunts, and the trampoline is from this game too. It's vaguely fun. It's kind of like a stealth avoid 'em up type thing where you're trying to escape the enemies and like steal things. Actually, you're playing as like a police mouse who's like stealing stolen things back. You're like retrieving stolen goods, I think. Or are you a thief? I forget. The Mappy song does bop. It is a good song. Considering this is one of the earlier arcade games, you know, you kind of want to give it the benefit of the doubt. In terms of, they didn't have much to work with. Like some of these arcade games, shit like Jackie Chan Fists of Fire, had a lot more to work with technologically than something like Mappy or Root Beer Tapper or Burger Time. Because they're all from kind of different eras of arcade gaming. But Mappy, it's pretty mid. It's also like roughly on the same level as like Burger Time or Donkey Kong. You know, I'm going to give this a 5.5 and this a 5. That's how I'm feeling. And no, I don't know if I'd recommend Mappy. It's cute. But a lot of these arcade games are really not worth playing necessarily unless you're a giga nerd like me who wants to like seek out a bunch of old arcade games and play them. You're a mouse cop in Mappy, so it's a bad game, unfortunately. Someone said I had a Mappy plug and play as a kid, and I had no idea what was going on, but it was so fun. I think a lot of people's exposure, like modern exposure to these arcade games, is through plug and play consoles. Like Namco's released a bunch of those, I think. Okay, final review for the day. It's Q*bert. This is actually a pretty decent arcade game as well. I think not as fun as Root Beer Tapper. You know, I'm gonna give Root Beer Tapper a fucking 7.5. I did doing the exact same thing that I did with Mappy and Burger Time. I swear the scores aren't related. It's not relative. Q*bert, I think I would recommend, though. It's a fun game. It's got kind of a weird control scheme. I think playing it on keyboard, you kind of have to like shift your brain a little bit because it's all like diagonal, you know? It's like that sideways turned like diagonal checkerboard sort of pattern, and I think the arcade joystick actually reflects that accurately. But just turn your keyboard if you're emulating it. It's a fun little game where you're hopping around a grid. It's like free-form action checkers or something, where like different enemies have different rules for how they move around, and it's kind of funny. It's got that voice synthesis where it goes like, "Hello, I'm Q*bert," or whatever, and then there's the little fucking green enemy that goes that's made me fucking laugh my head off when I played this. But it's also a genuinely kind of fun, satisfying game to play. You're just trying to like turn all the tiles a certain color, and you have to puzzle like navigate your way through these enemies without getting touched by any of them. And I think like there's some rule about like green things are collectibles and some enemies are green, so you just like stomp on them to like stop them doing whatever they're doing. It's actually pretty fun and compelling as arcade games go, as these old arcade games go. So I would give this maybe like a 6.5. I remember after I was done playing it, I was like, man, I should have played that for a little longer because it was actually pretty fun. And it's kind of funny and cute, you know, which it achieves a level of personality that a lot of arcade games kind of struggle to get. And that's it for today, folks. No more. We're done. I'm gonna have to like refresh my memory on exactly what. I think I could remember all these packs, but I'm not gonna do it right now. More so these ones later on. Like, I don't remember the difference between G Plus and Galaga 88. That's one I truly don't remember. I think Galaga 88. No, G Plus was the super fucking hard one. Galaga 88 was the one that was really based, actually. Whatever. I'm also just tired. We've been going for nearly 2.5 hours. So I am done, folks. Next time, we're going to clear out. We're going to go from Pac-Man all the way down to Area 51. Hopefully. God, there's a lot of fucking arcade games, though. But it's easier. They're a little quicker to review, as we just saw. So, here, I'll post, if any of you want to access the spreadsheet. Hold on, I'm going to fucking... God, that looks so crusty. It's so, like... It's so high frame rate. But it's so crusty when zoomed in. Hold on, I'm going to share... Anyone on the internet with the link can view. Copy link. So you guys, some people are asking, like, oh, what score did you give to this game? You guys can look it up there if you want. And it'll be in the description of the VOD as well. Oh my god, I just saw a bunch of people join in. Anonymous Ifrit has joined the party. But yeah, oh man, my voice is like tired after these streams, always. Next time we'll do an arcade bonanza, and then, I want to say that we're in the home stretch at that point, but we really aren't. We really aren't. We've still got quite a few to go. I mean, how many are there total? There's like over 500? 541, so basically 550. And we're at 355 after next stream. Before next stream, we're at 285. Fuck. Oh, misery man. But we will get through it. I'm going to try to crank these out. And then at a certain point, it'll just be like, I'll just have to do one of these streams every few weeks, you know, and that'll be perfect. Or every few, like, months or something. And I won't have to crank them out. But, you know, you got to rip the Band-Aid off at a certain point. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed watching. I enjoy dispensing opinions about games that nobody cares about. Next time, we'll do some games that people give slightly more shits about. Today, we had Undertale and Skullgirls. That was it today. Both games that I have played recently for some reason. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god.